You're transitioning into a new quarterback, okay? And right now, I get worried about his confidence because I've seen this happen to other quarterbacks right now. Take the ball out of his hands. Don't ask him to do as much as you're asking him to do. I know we have these receivers and everything else. It's not about the receivers. It's about a philosophy on offense that says, listen, what's the best part of your team? It's going to be your defensive side, but that gets worn down after a period of time. There's no margin of error there. You have to somehow shorten the game with this quarterback, and it goes back to running the ball. I'd put him back under center. Don't subject him to being back there and getting sacked 6 times today. And that's a good defense. I get it. But you're right. The Saints that's a good defense too. Yes. You gotta find this week in and week out. So again, been saying from the beginning, you're 2-6. Understand it's a period of transition.
Yeah.
What's in the best interest to develop this quarterback who's your quarterback of the future without destroying his confidence.
Hey, you blink, I'll cut your eyelids off. Don't you blink. I got you. Let's go.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition here of the Men of Steel podcast. As we are in show blitz right now for the Steelers versus Saints pregame show, as it'll be kicked off tomorrow at noon at Acrisure Stadium. Boy, still got to get used to saying that name right there. But here we are right now. The Steelers will be looking to try and turn things around and try and dig themselves out of a hole they haven't been to in a long time. 2-6. It's been 9 years since then, which would be Mike Tomlin's biggest test to date to see what they could do. They'll have to go 7-2 the rest of the way for him to avoid having another non-losing season. Not only that, but just to stay competitive, hopefully for a playoff spot, which I highly doubt at this point. Right now, definitely clearly things have been slipping away right now. As we look at in the AFC right now, the Steelers are the 15th worst team in the conference. As we take a look at everything, right now they trail the LA Chargers by only 3 games. 3 games. And it may not sound that very exciting, but considering where they're at, 3 games is still very makeable. They got TJ Watt, who has been activated tomorrow's game. Say what? He is back. Yes, sir. Let's see if they can kickstart this winning tomorrow right now. There's going to definitely be some tough sledding along the way coming up here. Definitely got a lot to be excited for right now with him coming back, but it'll be comes with a price. As we look at this month in November, 2 other 3 games will be at home at Acrisure Stadium, thanks in large part to the bye they had last week. So it was week number 10. Like I said, Steelers will definitely have their work cut out for them. Good evening once again. I'm Charles Prodigy. Richey, you guys can follow me on Twitter at MetalSteelCGR and on Instagram at MetalSteelNation. So let's get into the opening drive and roster updates here. It was confirmed on yesterday at noon by Josh Roundtree as he tweeted out, and of course announced on 937 The Fan, "I'm glad to be back," Watt said. He also said he won't be on the pitch clock. He also confirmed that he missed practice on Thursday, but it was just a vet maintenance day. "I got to spend a little time with Cam," Watt joked. Also, too, Chris Boswell, according to Josh Roundtree, on Thursday has been placed on IR and will have to miss 4 games. Remember, this groin injury popped up a couple weeks ago when they were getting ready to play the Eagles, for which he was ruled out of. And here we go. Also, safety Damontae Kazee got activated. But Price said on Tuesday afternoon, earlier in the week, after 3 Eastern, that the Steelers released Nick Skiba from the practice squad, making it likely for Chris Boswell to be back. But, of course, we found out the next day that he was placed on IR. On Wednesday morning, a little after 10 a.m. Eastern, Ian Rappaport of NFL Network reported the Steelers did sign Matthew Wright to the 53-man roster from the Chiefs practice squad, meaning he has to be on the roster for 3 games. Boswell's dealing with a groin injury. Like I said, dating back to November 5th, the day before the Eagles game. Ray Filippo knows that Matthew Wright says he's comfortable with the Steelers because he knows so many of the faces from the last time he was here in 2020. And just to give you an idea what Matthew Wright is all about here, coming in for a really important kicking situation right now, who's trying to make some impact. Hopefully, we could see what they could do here for the time being going into this game for tomorrow, trying to get the thing going in the right direction. And like I said, we know it's not going to be easy sledding the rest of the way here. I mean, they definitely got their work cut out. But Matthew Wright, for the most part, in his NFL career, as we get ready to pull this up here in just a second, it's definitely going to be some interesting kicking duty right now, for the most part. In his career right now, he is a career 28 of 32 for about 88% field goals he's made, which also includes going 28 of 30 in extra point attempts. His longest he's kicked in his career was this year, where he had a 59-yard field goal attempt, which he made this year. And that 59-yard, I'm trying to see where it came in at for Matthew right here as he comes into it. But anyway, yeah, he's here right now, trying to fill in for a guy, Boswell, who's been the Steelers' clutch kicker to say the least. As far as kicking from 50 yards or more, he is 5'7" and also 6 of 8, anywhere between 40 to 49 yards, 6 of 8, and a perfect 9 for 9 and 8 for 8, anywhere between 20 to 39 yards. So just give you an idea. So we'll see how much he could come into effect for tomorrow, this game right here. Like I said, he's definitely be needed on some kicking duty here, no doubt about it. Trying to help the special teams right now, especially on offense that is struggling mightily here, and it's just not a very good offense right here. A lot of people have been screaming for Matt Canada's job to be removed and to not, you know, have any distraction. Mike Thomas sticking to his guns with his coaches. I mean, he was hinting at personnel change, but a couple weeks ago he said definitive no that he was not going to be making any changes. And pretty much not surprising at this point. But in general, right now, the Steelers, like I said, beginning of the show, I did mention they're coming off a bye, and more particularly under Mike Tomlin, since he's been the head coach of the Steelers. The good news is so far they have a winning record coming off the bye. There are 7 games over 500, 11-4 right now, which includes a 5 year winning streak beginning back in 2017, where they had 2 of those games on the road against the Colts back in 2017, and then the Browns last year in Cleveland. Also, prior to that, they had 3 of those games at home, which they've been 3-0 in that 5 year span against, once again, the Browns, the Dolphins, and then the Eagles last year. Remember, they were supposed to be facing the Titans in their Week 4 matchup for that year, let's not forget. And what ended up happening, they instead took their bye on October 4th and faced them October 11th. So they actually faced the Titans about 2 weeks later on October 25th. And that's how that ended up happening. So they got their bye a little bit early, and that was due to the COVID breakout right there. So again, 11-4 right now, where they have 106-point plus differential, where they outscore their opponents 379 to 273. Hopefully that'll be a magic ingredient once again right now. But do note when it comes off the bye of regards in the month of November, when we break this down right here, under Mike Tomlin's coaching career, he is it appears he's has a losing record right now when it comes to the month of November. And where he's 3-3 so far in the month of November. So again, I mean, other than that, majority of those buys where he's been having it has been in the month of October for the most part. So let's see what will happen right here for tomorrow. And hopefully it'll be some good news for the team trying to get things going in the right direction. For this matchup. So 3-3. Also, let's keep it moving right here. Two on regards to the Steelers right now, as per the injury report going to tomorrow's matchup, they will be without 3 players for tomorrow's matchup, which includes kicker Chris Broswell, who's been dealing with growing injury for the last 2 weeks. Newly acquired cornerback William Jackson III, dealing with a back. He is placed on IR. And of course, left cornerback Ahkello Witherspoon, who has a hamstring. Outside linebacker Malik Reed is questionable after not practicing on Thursday and was limited on resting. Nothing serious, just seemed to be resting right there. In regards to more information on William Jackson, I really do like what the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette announced yesterday at 2:15 p.m. Eastern on Twitter that Jackson has been placed on IR. The Steelers, who made the swap with the Commanders, 6th or 7th round swap, they'll no longer have to give the Commanders a conditional draft choice because the trade was contingent on Jackson playing a specified number of games. Also, not on the injury report was, according to ESPN's Am Schefter, shortly after the Steelers walkthrough, they will also be without their star free safety, Mika Fitzpatrick, who was forced to undergo an appendectomy for this game right here. And which is really a big dagger right here, considering you got TJ Watt coming back in here for this game. Really looking for a big boost right there. And this defense, and of course, this team has not been healthy in a while, which has been the frustrating thing. I did say going into the season that they'll be needing health right there. I mean, to stay healthy, which has not been going according to plan. I mean, which is tough in this game of football right here. He wasn't feeling well and practices feel he needed to get the surgery ASAP, according to a source. Teams hoping he could be back soon, but an appendectomy typically results in a multi-week absence. And hopefully the hope is that he can return as soon as the Monday Night Football game when they travel to Indianapolis to take on the Colts at Lucas Oil Stadium. Now, remember, if he's able to come back for that game, there'll be back-to-back games on the road where they'll be the following week at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, taking on the Falcons. So his next home game, realistically, in Pittsburgh at Acrisure Stadium will be against Baltimore Ravens for the first of their 2 matches right there. And after that, they'll be on the road against the Panthers, home against the Raiders, on the road versus the Ravens, and then first the Browns in Week 18 for the finale so far up to this point. Now, remember, I mean, the only good thing so far right now is Steelers. They are 1-1 in the division, only having the only loss came against the Browns. Of course, the win coming against the Cincinnati Bengals back in Week 1. Now, in regards to the appendectomy, just to fill people in real quick here. Joe Burrow, for example, he had one this offseason. it was he had one right before training camp, and he was only sidelined 2.5 weeks before he was able to return. So that's the hope right now for Fitzmagic right here, if he's able to come back in time right there, and hopefully not too much rust. And real quickly, just to give you an idea too on the Saints injury report right now too. Uh, oh, real quick before we get into that, Steelers they did activate safety DeMonte Kanzi from injured reserve and activated safety Elijah Riley from the practice squad for the game on Sunday. Now, regardless of the Saints, they will be without 5 players, 4 of which are starters. Backup running back Mark Ingram has a knee. Right cornerback Marshawn Lattimore abdomen. Center Eric McCoy calf. Left guard Andrews Pete tricep. And will linebacker Pete Warner ankle. They have 2 that are questionable. Each of them are stars. Right defensive end Marcus Davenport dealing with a calf injury, and strong safety Marcus May and abdomen right there as we look at it. And for the injury report on the Saints, so like I said, the guys who were out, they did not practice, but the guys are questionable. Like I said, Marcus Davenport, he was limited on Friday and all week, while Pete Warner, too, he was also questionable, who did not practice the last few days. He didn't pop up on the Saints injury report until Thursday. But right now, too, I mean, Malik Reed, too, he'll be another guy to keep an eye on for. Yes, TJ Watt will be back. He insists he won't be on the pitch clock, but he is excused for non-injury related right there. And for this game right now, I mean, if they're going to have any hope, they really need to be all hands on deck. And I got to tell you right now, 7-2. I mean, you think about the Steelers last time they were in this position, they went 6-2 the rest of the way back in 2013. And they were 2-6 after losing a humiliating defeat against New England Patriots that game in 2013, where they gave up record points on defense. I believe it was 55 points. But anyway, what ended up happening after the game? They won a 3-game winning streak. Began with the Bills, followed up by the Lions and the Browns, and then before they dropped to 5-8 after losing to the Dolphins, but then were able to go on a 3-game winning streak to conclude the season right there, which 2 out of those 3 came against AFC North opponents, which were both at home in Heinz Field at the time. And remember, that season was marked, well, pretty controversial finish. I mean, for the 2013 season, where they were looking to get some help in making the playoffs. And just a reminder right there, Steelers, they were needing a win plus a Dolphins, Jets, Ravens, and Chargers loss. They had the first 3 scenarios happen where the Dolphins, Jets, and Ravens lost. And the Steelers beat the Browns. And the Dolphins, no, excuse me, they needed a win. Plus, the Dolphins lost to the Jets, and the Ravens and Chargers lost. So the Steelers win. Then of course you had the other 2 scenarios happen with the Dolphins and Ravens loss. The Chargers, the Chiefs were about to questionably kick the game-winning field goal, but there was a missed illegal formation call, and where a 5-yard penalty was supposed to be called, and will just been a re-kick. The competition committee put a rule beginning that season where teams were not allowed to have on defense more than 6 players on either side of the snapper. That was a missed call. That ended up missing the field goal. Chargers won that game in overtime, thus taking the final wild card spot. And I highly doubt that's going to happen this time around right there. Just not a chance. Because when you look at it realistically, let's look at the schedule right now. I mean, let's just play devil's advocate for right now. Going along the rest of the way right here. The Steelers, for the most part, I mean, they're gonna definitely have their work cut out for them, and where a lot of these teams right here not gonna be easy here. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, just trying to finish out this year right now. I mean, their schedule. I mean, when you look at everything, for the most part, for everything they gotta do right now to make this thing happen, it's really not going to be their easiest season to date. I mean, there's still some games that are winnable. Yes. I mean, and when you also look at it from this standpoint, I mean, for the most part, they gotta go against the rest of the way here to try and make this work. They gotta go up against uh, two teams that have winning records, but also some teams that are still like knocking on the door. I think let's just go for each game real quickly. I mean, of course, they if they lose this game, their season may be pretty much in serious jeopardy as far as like being playoffs officially. I think they'll be safe to say close to officially eliminated from the playoffs. Well, no, they won't be eliminated, but it'll be a lot more hard. 2-7, I'm just not so sure because you'll be facing the Bengals next week at home. That'll be a Sunday night game, followed by a Monday night game in Indianapolis versus Colts. And then you got to be on the road versus the Falcons. So, I mean, I'm going to give tomorrow, I'm going to say they're probably sneak out win tomorrow. Sunday night, I mean, as long as they can get most of everybody healthy, I mean, of course, with Minka Fitzpatrick, we're hearing probably just be a multi-week absence with the appendectomy. Uh, I'll probably say 2-0. I mean, just for the safe part. And then on the road versus the Colts, I'll say 3-0. I think where their luck can go, I'll give them like 4 straight wins. I'll give them these next 4 wins versus Saints, Bengals, Colts, Falcons. You gotta believe the offensive line is starting to gel a little bit more. The only problem is, like Bill Cowher was saying too, you don't want to start messing with Kenny Pickett's confidence right now and ask him to do a lot much where he's going to be getting hit, see if he can hand off the ball a little bit more, trying to open things up and make things easier. Where it can get a little eerie right here is their first matchup against the Ravens right there. And remember too, they played both those games without Lamar Jackson, so this will be the first time he'll be back versus Steelers since they faced him on the road in Baltimore, I believe, back in 2020. So it's been a long time right there. So 2 years since the COVID years since they faced him. And then you gotta face the Raiders too, which should be a winnable game. I would like to think that'll be a Christmas Eve game. Then in Baltimore. So I mean, I'll give them at least the next 4: win versus Saints, Bengals, Colts, Falcons. I mean, if you talk about that right there, I mean, you're looking at right there. If you win those 4 games, 6-6 could still be very alive for the playoffs. I'm not advocating that, but I think these are definitely 4 winnable games. I mean, TJ Watt's presence has got to help make the rest of the guys on defense their jobs somewhat easier. Just having that pressure available right there and take away some of the double teams that guys have been having to face, like a Larry Ogunjobi on there on that team. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, some other guys who could like really use this help too, as far as like just trying to like like sell down because the run has been noticeably clicking too. You also got to think like right there, Alex Highsmith a little bit in the way, and then more particularly like Montravius Adams. But I mean, the running game has been doing outstanding. They jumped up as high as ninth under Brian Flores. This run defense has been dead last. They've been picking up some steam this past month, I personally feel. Now, granted, has it translated into a lot of wins? Not really. But at the same time, I really do believe this defense could still find a way to gel right now. So again, to compete or not to compete, that is the question. And what I mean by that, I mean, should you start, knowing when to shut it down, start folding your chips? I'm gonna say no for the time being, but at the same time, too, the realistic thing is if they go 9-8, what are they really doing for future success? Are we being the same song and dance, or to be back in the same position? You're not going to have a high draft pick position. Are you going to have confidence in Omar Khan that he's going to be able to spend the money with the salary cap they got coming up next year? It's a lot of stuff right there for future consideration for this team because 2023 right now, the Steelers are projected to have about over 20.25 million in cap space available right there. Not a lot right there, but still, I mean, playing some catch up right there. I mean, for next few years, so they'll definitely be having some work. I think they'll find a way to get some more cap space and time. Not really too worried about that, but anyway, here's where we're at right now as far as back in 2022. They got a little over $5 million. Not much wiggle room, but it's a lot of this stuff is workable. A lot of restructures. Worry about that when the time comes, but that's what we gotta look at right now. I mean, unless they're willing to spend big or make some aggressive trades, I mean, they're going to keep being back in the same position, staying competitive, not getting enough talent that's going to keep them once again competing for Super Bowl, or is it going to be Mike Tomlin having guts to build a smarter coaching staff around him? I mean, would you lure someone away from guys looking to get back into coaching? Would you be looking open to the idea of having the guy like a Sean Payton just temporarily be an assistant coach? Obviously, he wants to be a head coach again, or does things not work out with Sean McVay and the LA Rams? Listen, I think Sean McVay has done a real good job as far as what he's had to do with the last few years with Jared Goff and of course now Matthew Stafford. And the only reason why I say that too, I mean, look at one thing with Sean McVay too. He's had to move on from a guy like Todd Gurley, who they haven't had in a few years, and that has been very telling. And the way he's been able to reinvent that running game right there too. When you have a guy like a Daryl Harrison who's been there since 2019, I mean he's rushed for 1,712 yards in 4 seasons, almost 4.5 yards per attempt. I mean, that's the thing right there. You start being open to ideas, even on defense. I mean, would you even look at a guy? I doubt he's going to come off TV, but I mean, somewhere like the caliber of like a Rex Ryan, someone that could fire up this defense once again. I mean, it's just a lot of stuff to consider. I don't think he will fit in. I'm not advocating for that, but you get the idea right there. This is what needs to happen. And like I said, I'll be a fool right now to say covering this team, but now as a fan myself, why stop competing? But at the same time, you gotta be realistic. Where is this getting you at? So, breaking point right now. The Steelers are currently positioned at the 4th overall pick in this coming year's draft, beyond the Raiders, who are at 2-7. They got the 3rd overall pick. Texans had the 1st overall pick at 1-6-1. The Steelers trail by a half game for the number 1 overall pick. So you tell me if they should shut it down. I'm gonna say no. I don't want to be disrespectful at this point. I think when you got a guy like TJ Watt, you owe it to give it everything you got right now. I mean, I think 4 games is very winnable, but they gotta get something mustered up offensively. Our second topic here: should we consider running back Najee Harris a bust? Najee's only had 3 100-yard games in his 25 career starts with the Steelers. Highest coming back in Week 17 versus Browns last season. Ben Roethlisberger's final home game, where he ran for 188 yards and where he averaged 6.7 yards per attempt, while finishing the night with 206 yards of scrimmage. His 361 yards off of 108 carries ranks 34th in the league, 30th among running backs. The thought process, according to Kabali, is that Harris is getting healthier and with Kenny Pickett getting ready to settle in, more coupled with the offensive line gelling, the better he'll play. Najee has the only touchdown among running backs for his team, despite Jalen Warren, who's been an undrafted free agent. He's been averaging more than Najee with 5.3 yards per attempt, with 153 yards off of 29 carries. Don't get me wrong, I like the average, but at the end of the day, other Matt Canada system, he has not scored any touchdowns. He's not punched in yet. So is Najee Harris best? I'm not going to say that yet. If regardless how the season feels, let's see where he is a year number 3. We'll go from there. I still think there's a lot that's doable with Naj right now. 361 yards. I think he could still heat up. Dealing with Liz Frank, if you get the offensive line going, a lot can happen along the way. Miles Jack, he'll set the team's single season tackle record for the Pittsburgh Steelers in his career right now. The guy who holds the record for total tackles in the season was James Ferrier. And coincidentally, just like this season, if he's able to, more than likely will probably be a losing season, which James Ferrier did back in 2003. They went 6-10, and guess who they got less than a year later? Ben Roethlisberger. He is tied with Lawrence Taylor, former Pro Bowl, for this team, who's had 135 total tackles in 2010. Both him and James were tied with solo tackles for that season, or for each of their seasons, with 96 right there. And right now, for the most part, when you look at Miles Jack, right now, he currently has 72 total tackles, 43 being solo, 29 assisted right there. I'll probably say may just come up short. I think if anything, maybe for the most part. I mean, listen, I mean it's a long ways to go, but I mean, I'll probably say he'll. I don't know, maybe 135. I'm just guessing, but he should benefit from having the entire defense back and healthy for the first time, as well as playing some run-heavy teams like the Ravens twice, the Browns, and the Colts. Jackson has been spectacular, but he has been a huge upgrade at the position from a year ago, especially with struggling Devin Bush. Very good sideline attacker and doesn't miss much. Who is worth every million per year. Last but not least, Alex Heisman and TJ Watt. Will they hit double-digit sacks? I'm gonna say yes, to be honest with you. Steelers had 15 sacks for the halfway mark. They blitzed 94 times off 329 quarterback dropbacks for a blitz percentage of 28.6%, which is 11th. They had a pressure rate of 14%, which is 30th in the league, with only 46 pressures being called. So I say what? I think anything can happen. So real quickly, let's wrap up the show with the keys to the game. Very first key would be the Steelers guards versus the Saints run defense. Left guard Kevin Dotson, right guard James Daniels will need to fend off guys like middle linebacker Demario Davis and defensive end Cameron Jordan. Davis and Jordan's 5 sacks are both tied with 8 tackles for loss. Yes, Jalen Warren, as I mentioned earlier, he's averaging more yards with 5.3 yards per attempt, and Harris needs to be stepping up. He's averaging 3.3 yards per attempt. That'll be key number 1. Key number 2, pass protection. Why is that? We saw Kenny Pickett last time he was out. He's been getting sacked in all 4 of his games he's been starting. 6 with a career high versus the Eagles, and he's had 3 before that. I believe that was versus the Bills. Anyway, Davis, he leads the Saints with 6 sacks, followed by Jordan's 5. And then Kenny, like I said, that has got to stop right there. So keeping him clean throughout this game, that'll be a big thing right there. Key number 3, stopping the run for the Steelers defense. They've been gaining traction under Brian Flores as they are now 9th in the league in stopping the run, only now allowing 943 yards off of 223 carries for 4.2 yards per attempt. They'll be put to the test as Alvin Kamara has rushed for 443 yards off 104 carries for 4.3 yards per attempt, while earning 762 scrimmage yards. We all know what he could do. Last key, say what? Turnover ratio. I believe TJ Watt could be a big component in helping turnover ratio. Last time I checked, when he was playing there, they had 5 takeaways plus 5 turnover ratio in the win versus the Bengals. Since then, they've dropped to -4, which ranks towards the bottom of the league right now. So Steelers just be without Minka, but Watt's presence should help make the rest of the team's jobs easier. We'll do it for this edition here of Showblitz. Once again, I'm Charles Prodigy Richey. You can follow me on Twitter at MassSteelCGR and at MassSteelNation on Instagram. As always, leave you. Don't be trolling. Be rolling. Here goes Steelers. Here we go. I gone. Thank you for watching the Mass Steel podcast with your host, Charles Prodigy Richey, here on YouTube. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And for all the latest Mass Steel podcast episodes, feel free to download them on Mixcloud, Anchor.fm, and SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts.